Hello and welcome to a Handpicked Life channel. And today we're going to look at making happiness a habit. So something that becomes your default setting. Because whatever we're doing, we're always practicing something. So whether that is practicing being irritable, feeling rushed, angry, sad, lonely, or feeling joyful, more at ease, feeling that we've got more space in life, content, peaceful, whatever it is that we do on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis is what we're getting skilled at, because practice makes perfect. And though what we practice becomes habitual, it becomes something that we don't really need to think about. We drop into easily, can become our default setting. And today I really want to look at how we can steer that. And that's not in a way that we're taking the blame for something. It's more for taking responsibility. And taking the blame and taking responsibility are two very different things. And when you choose to start to be aware of your state and practice changing how you feel, the more empowered you feel. And every time you have that experience, it gets easier and easier to begin to form that habit. My name's Leanne Campbell. I'm a life and wellbeing coach, and I specialize in somatic practices because I know that is what really helps people when they get stuck in habits and behaviors, in ways of thinking that really is no longer serving them. And it's creating this state that actually really takes the joy out of life. And joy is something that isn't just this happy, buzzy, fluffy feeling. Joy is actually your resilience. It will help you bounce back from setbacks in life. It will strengthen your immune system. It will give you a strong foundation from which to live your life. And everybody deserves to be happy. And the more we just get into a practice of simply practicing, noticing how we feel, and that's the first thing. So really key, just noticing where you're at, what your thoughts are, how you're feeling, and then practicing moving through that in order to lift your vibration, to lift your state. And every single time you do that, it allows you to believe it more, so you feel more empowered to do this again, and it starts to change your happiness default setting, because there's been many studies on happiness. It's thoroughly researched, and one of the things that comes up again and again in studies is that we have a happiness default setting. So in other words, there's a certain state that you tend to live your life in. And it's been shown that if we have extreme experiences on either end of the scale, whether that's an amazing experience, winning the lottery, the birth of your child, getting married, or it could be an accident or an illness or the loss of a loved one, it will change our state to either being exhilarated or sending us low or stressed or fearful. But after a while, about a year, you naturally come back to this same sort of default setting, which tends to be the norm for you. This is how you generally feel, and this is the level that you operate from. The good news is it doesn't have to be set, because we can work with somatic practices, with changing our state, with allowing a state that we would prefer to become more habitual. We can then raise that happiness set point. And the more we practice these very simple things, we begin this dialogue with the body. We gain more trust in ourselves, our self-esteem builds, because every time we keep showing up to support ourselves and to helping ourselves, and this is something that anybody can do, every single time you do that, you're giving yourself that message that you're safer, you have the support in order to really step up, upgrade yourself, and be able to change yourself at times when you're feeling low or anxious. And yes, of course, there are times where you seek professional help and you work with a professional in order to really hold you. But most of the time, you can really use these practices just to shift the state for yourself. So certain things that can really help us is having a focus, practicing having a focus in the present moment. And in fact, again, it's been shown that people who can be more present to what they're doing, even if they're doing something that doesn't particularly make them happier, are happier than people that tend to be never quite settling on one thing. So they may be in a relationship, but constantly thinking, oh, but I could be doing something better, or in a job where they're wanting to be somewhere else. And even though that's a good thing, and it's good to keep your choices open and be aware of them, when we're constantly feeling this unrest in the present moment, we're not able to say, okay, this is where I am now, and practice just that simple practices of coming back to your breath, just being where you are now, and allowing those feelings of joy and peace and happiness to come in without changing anything on the outside. Because often we don't have the full control of what goes on outside of us, but we always have control of our response to it and how we feel. And really, with these somatic practices, that's where we get right to the root of something. The good news is as well, when you begin to feel happier and more spacious, so even if you're in a position where you're not that happy, what often happens when we're flitting, we're not able to see opportunities that are there. And if we do see opportunities, our stress response comes in and doesn't allow us to move forward, because we're living in a way that we're just surviving. So just practicing being aware of your breath, focusing your mind, coming back to a focus, even for 10 minutes a day, makes a huge difference on our ability to connect with joy and contentment. There are also acupressure points on the body and energy pathways that we can move and stimulate deliberately in order to bring those feelings of joy and expansion into the body. And really, anything that we do, we're looking to create a feeling. So why not begin by creating a feeling? And every time you do that, you know that no matter where you're at in life, or no matter what situation you're in, you are able to bring yourself up a level. Every time you do that, you really build on that resilience that is so powerful for us to have throughout our lives. So the energy pathways that I just mentioned, they're called joy generators. They've also been known as glad flows, the radiant circuits, and they're very well known in Chinese philosophies. They're also talked about in the systems of yoga and the ancient practices that really understood the energetic systems in the body. And we all have had that experience where you've had good news, something amazing has happened to you, and you feel that sense of generosity, ease, more space in your body. And that really is those radiant circuits kicking into action, and they jump around the body and give you that high feeling. The great thing is when you start to work with this in a practice where you're focused, where you're deliberately shifting the body. So the great thing is when you practice these things regularly, shifting your energies into a state where you can really access these feelings of joy and contentment, you start to raise your default setting. So whatever you come back to in your normal way of being is slightly more joyful, and then we can do it again and raise it again and feel more joy and happiness and ease. So the place that you tend to settle into is happier. Happiness also boosts your immunity. It helps you to heal. It helps you to release trauma, and it has the power to really burst through old experiences, old beliefs, old ways of being. Now, this isn't about putting plasters on broken legs. It's not just about being positive. Let's just ignore anything else that the body is saying to us. However, as a system in itself, it really is possible to keep focusing on raising that vibration and allowing healing to take place. And yes, there are times when you having an understanding of something and really being able to release a trauma, an experience, a belief, that definitely has its place. But really understanding that when we begin to work with the radiant circuits, with the body's ability to really move through and find the energies that your heart wants you to follow. It's the energies of thriving. When you find that, then you can keep coming back to it again and again, and that in itself will allow your body to heal. Tapping is also a way that we can raise our vibration and raise our levels of happiness. It's also known as emotional freedom technique, energy psychology, and it's found in many different systems. And it simply requires us tapping on certain acupressure points on the body. And when we tap on certain places in the body, you give the body the okay signals. So the stress response is able to calm down. And tapping is a wonderful way to work towards focusing on a certain state and allowing your body to really feel it. And as you tap, and as you feel safer and allow the stress response to relax, then the technique does it for you. And what you'll often find is at the end of the session that you're already there. You feel that you've reached this place of peace and joy and expansion. So just to summarize really simply, happiness is a habit. The way we are is habitual. The way we go about our daily lives, the thoughts that we have, the feelings that we have in our fast-paced modern day world, where sometimes we can go for weeks, if not months, of just zooming through life, just getting through. We easily switch onto our habits. So we have the same kind of feelings. We practice the same way of being. And when we practice having happiness as a habit, when we just take the time to take a little bit of time out to change our way of being, when we keep checking in on where we're at, on how we're feeling, that is a real key to shifting. So long term, it becomes a default setting that is so much more spacious, easier, more joyful. So if you're feeling ready to practice creating a habit of happiness, which is there with you on a day-to-day level, then check out our happiness playlist below, and that will give you a taste of how you can change your state. And if you want to go deeply into this, then join us for our free webinar. Learn how to make happiness a habit. I'll share with you a blueprint on how you can begin to put these things into practice straight away and use them in your everyday life. They're easily integrated and really fun to do. Thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, let us know what you think. Please share also, and hopefully I'll see you in the happiness experiment. Thank you.